in the marketing world, they understand guarantees like crazy. Like not only they have crazy guarantees, a lot of times they'll do guarantee stacking. And so there's a number of reasons why you would use a guarantee, but one of which is to handle a particular objection that's really hard to handle otherwise. And so for us, like when we were dealing with for sale by owners, their main desire is they didn't want to deal with agents and they didn't want to pay any money. And so it's like, well, what are the ways you could solve that problem? Most of the time agents would be like, well, we'll get you more, but the for sale by owner doesn't believe them. And they don't even believe that they're going to do a good job. And so one of the marketing strategies that's become more commonplace now is the pay per performance models of business. And so the guarantee was, and it's not that agents weren't pay per performance. We were. You only get paid if you sell the deal. The thing that made that weird was the exclusivity of listing agreements forces them to pay a commission no matter what. And so essentially that's what we took away. We said, hey, look, if you find a buyer, then you don't pay us. And there were sellers that totally screwed us. Like we would bring people in, they would get their phone numbers and call them and then say it was their buyer. And we never pursued those. I do believe that the vast majority of people are pretty good-willed. And it's probably less of a percentage that are good-willed in the for sale by owner world, but it's still a pretty high percentage. So like in traditional marketing, a lot of times you'll hear like 2, 3, 4% maybe will take advantage of you. Maybe it was 5 or 10% in the for sale by owner world, but still the amount of listings we were able to secure. I mean, we did hundreds of thousands, not over $1 million in commissions in a few years on this method. So we did okay. And so for us, what we did is we said, okay, this is a cost of doing business. We are going to get screwed by people, and it's going to show us that negative side of society. But if we factor 10, 15% of our P&L to getting hosed, then we already accounted for it. And we could actually do it out of a good heart. We could be gracious and we'd be like, you must need this real bad, even when obviously clearly financially they don't. But so we stacked that guarantee amongst other guarantees. So what we did in the sales process is we analyzed, okay, it's the commission's a factor, right? It's the trust in the amount of timing that's a factor. And so whatever the objections were, if we couldn't quickly handle them with a response, we just put in a guarantee. So we got 3 and 4 guarantees deep, and we would throw all of them out there. And then that stacking progressively really increased our conversion rates.
Oh, so good, man. Whenever I talk to you, I learn more about sales, even in a 10-minute conversation. I just think you have this natural ability. So a couple of things I really want to go back to really quickly. One is like a line item for getting hosed. Like that's such a good idea. Like it's a funny way of saying it, but it's so true. So if you have this 2 things, one was you were talking about how most people are good-willed. I can't agree with you more, but there's also those people out there who are just have had a tough go or whatever. And it's in them for whatever reason to take advantage of people. The other thing I really love about what you said was like, they must really need this. So this is not a good example, but it kind of makes me think of this. When my wife and I go camping or something, like if I leave my camper door open, for example, which we do every time we camp, we'll go out on the lake and we leave the camper open. My wife is like, what if someone steals something? I'm like, if someone steals a children's bike or like something out of a camper, that's pure desperation. Like I can't even be mad at that person because we'll replace it, right? And we'll move on. And so I love what you said was like, maybe they don't need out of like financial desperation, but there's something within that person where they're like going to take advantage of people. But I love your attitude. Because like, you're not going to pursue that, right? You're not going to sue that person. They probably have some hurt